at Glastonbury was just beyond.
And nothing has happened since.
But it was predictable as well.
Totally. And he was there for 5 hours after it happened and let that video stay on air.
So if Tim Davie goes... Fine, that's one person.
No.
How do you change the culture of the BBC?
Well, you've got to
because that's what you're arguing.
Oh, absolutely. There's got to be a whole new raft of people brought in. The real problem with the BBC is this, that everything depends on the chairman, Shamil Shah. Yep. Now, what's interesting is that Shah said originally that there's a huge problem in the BBC and we've got to solve it. But after the Glastonbury thing, he said he thought Tim Davie had handled it well. So he's been bought on. Lisa Nandy said heads must roll.
Yes,
suddenly she says not. They've all been nobbled. It's like the Afghan thing is another establishment cover-up. But this time, the BBC is far too important. It is facing an existential question under Tim Davie's leadership.
But Tom, it isn't going to change much, is it?
Well, if it doesn't, then it's the end of the BBC, because it cannot continue with these people who are ignorant and incapable of understanding their own limitations. That is the real problem. And so, therefore, it needs a whole new structure, new management people in to cure the problem.
Ignorant, there we are. Tom, so many royal stories around. Quick picture of Harry recreating his mother's time with, the Halo Trust, going into the minefield. What's Meghan not with him? What's that all about?
It's a stunt. Harry is desperate. Harry is desperate to get back to England. Harry is desperate to distance himself from the bitter feuds of his wife. And in any case, she's excluded him from her business things.
Is there sort of a slow breakup happening here?
Well, I don't think he'll ever want to leave California because he won't want to leave his children. But he's desperate for an identity. And what he really fears is that when the king, God forbid, dies, that his brother, Prince William, is going to banish him from Britain. And therefore he can't get back at all. And so somehow he's trying to ingratiate himself. But he's advised by people, Californian advisors, who don't understand Britain. So they let the Mail do the photographs. They think it's clever for him to recreate something that Diana did more than 25 years ago. It's all falling flat. Everyone knows.
Yeah, it is completely. By the way...
Family, gather around, because what I'm about to share with you is a perfect example of why the Royal Sussex Squad exists. Once again, the UK press and their so-called royal experts have been working overtime to twist, spin and distort the reality of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's lives. This time, they're trying to sell the idea that Harry and Meghan's attempts to build bridges with the royal family have come far too late. Too late for what? Too late for whom? Oh, I see. Too late for the same people who have spent the last 6 years tearing them down and now want to keep that narrative alive at all costs. You see the pattern, right? It's not about the truth, it's about control. Let's start with the facts. Meghan Markle just celebrated her 44th birthday. Did she throw a flashy, headline-grabbing gala? Did she use it as some staged PR stunt? No. She marked the occasion by sharing a heartfelt thank you message. She spoke directly from her heart, expressing gratitude to her husband, her friends, her family, and even to people she's never met. Strangers who send her love every day. She thanked them sincerely, saying she feels it and appreciates it. She posted a beautiful warm photo of herself blowing out candles on a cake. That's it. A simple human moment of joy, and yet here come the royal commentators sniffing for something to criticise. Suddenly her gratitude is part of some charm offensive. Really? Since when did saying thank you become a PR plot? This is the kind of absurd double standard Meghan has been living under since she first set foot in the UK as Harry's partner. Every smile, every word, every move is analysed and weaponised by people who are determined to see the worst in her. And the most ironic part is that when she stays quiet, they attack her for that too. Heads they win, tails she loses, at least in their little fantasy world. Now let's talk about Harry. Because if you've been following his recent steps, you'll see a man making genuine efforts to reconnect, quietly, respectfully, without fanfare. We learned recently that back in July, his representatives met with King Charles's team in London for a private peace summit. No press photographers, no leaks from Harry's side, no performative gestures, just a meeting designed to open the door to better communication. On top of that, Harry offered to share his own diary dates with the palace to prevent scheduling clashes. This is the kind of practical, respectful step you take when you actually want to make family interactions easier. But do they give him credit for that? Of course not. Because the moment they admit Harry is making mature, thoughtful moves, their villain script collapses. So instead they frame it as too late. Too late for what? Healing doesn't happen on a media commentator's timetable. Family relationships don't have expiry dates because Duncan Larkham or some other royal gossip merchant says so. That's not how it works in the real world. In the real world, reconciliation happens when it's safe, healthy and mutually desired, not when the tabloids demand it. And speaking of Larkham, he's out here telling the Mirror that Harry and Meghan are on a charm offensive to make themselves look like the good guys. That's rich, coming from a media ecosystem that has been painting them as villains from day one. It's projection at its finest. The truth is, Harry and Meghan don't need to convince the public that they're good guys. Their actions speak for themselves. Through their charitable work, their advocacy, their projects, and the way they've chosen to protect their family from the toxic environment they escaped. Of course, the media can't resist dragging in the recent Centrebal charity situation. Let's be clear, Centrebal is deeply personal to Harry. He co-founded it to help children affected by HIV in Lesotho and Botswana, inspired by his mother's humanitarian legacy. It's work that matters to him on a soul level. Recently, there was a rift between him and the charity's other leadership. That happens in organisations. Disagreements happen. But when the Charity Commission looked into it, Harry was cleared of any accusations of bullying or abuse. Cleared. That's the headline that should be leading the story. But what does the press do? They bury the fact he was exonerated and focus instead on how the disagreement damaged the charity's reputation. And who caused that damage? Not Harry, the people who gleefully turned an internal matter into a public spectacle. The press pretending to be concerned about Centrebale's reputation is laughable, considering they've done far more to undermine it than Harry ever has. And then there's Meghan, who, according to Larkham, attracts negativity no matter what she does. Again, he's not wrong about the negativity, but he frames it as if she's causing it rather than being the target of a coordinated smear campaign. Let's be honest, this isn't about Meghan making mistakes. This is about a press machine that decided a long time ago that she would never be accepted, and they've been feeding the public a steady diet of character assassination ever since. That's why her UK approval ratings have dropped. Polls don't exist in a vacuum. Public opinion is shaped by the information people consume, and when that information is overwhelmingly negative, you can expect the numbers to reflect it. It's not about reality, it's about perception. Here's the part they'll never admit. Harry and Meghan don't need the UK's approval to live full, meaningful lives. They have their freedom, they have their children, they have their work in philanthropy, entertainment and advocacy. They have each other. They're building a legacy on their own terms, free from the constraints of an outdated, rigid institution that never truly protected them. And yet, despite everything, they are still making gestures toward reconciliation. That is grace. That is character. That is strength. The too little too late narrative is nothing more than a safety net for those who can't bear to see the Sussexes succeed. Because if Harry and Meghan heal their family relationships, if they continue to thrive, if they keep making positive impacts in the world, then all the years of venom and vitriol will be exposed for what they were. Lies, pettiness and jealousy. The media doesn't want that reckoning. So they keep moving the goalposts, hoping to convince the public that reconciliation is impossible. But we know better, and let's not forget some of the greatest leaders and changemakers in history were unpopular in their own time. Popularity fades, poll numbers fade, legacy lasts forever. Harry and Meghan's legacy will not be defined by a YouGov survey or a bitter commentator. It will be defined by the lives they touch, the causes they support, the example they set for their children, and the courage they've shown in standing up for their truth. So, family, as we always say here, don't let the noise distract you from the truth. Don't let the headlines tell you how to feel about Harry and Meghan. Look at their actions. Look at the way they've carried themselves through all of this. Look at the love they share, the work they do, and the values they live by. That's what matters. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's attempt to build bridges backfires as efforts come far too late. The Sussexes have sank further in popularity in the UK, according to fresh polling data. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's attempt to build bridges and move on has come far too late, a royal commentator has suggested. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have been faced with a series of bruising setbacks amid their apparent charm offensive. Meghan recently celebrated her 44th birthday, marking the occasion with a social media post in which she thanked her husband, friends and family for making it so special. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's latest moves have been described as a charm offensive to help build bridges. To those of you I don't know, but who send love every day, thank you so much. Please know I feel it and appreciate it, she added, alongside an image of her blowing out candles on a cake dot. Harry has also seemingly embarked on steps towards rapprochement with King Charles and the royal family in recent months. In July, representatives of the Duke and King Charles held a secret peace summit in London. It later emerged that Harry had also offered to share his diary dates with the firm, seemingly to avoid engagement overlaps and potentially facilitate a meeting. These moves have been described as a charm offensive by former royal editor Duncan Larkham. The Sussexes' efforts were deemed far too late amid several bruising setbacks. They're on a charm offensive and have employed people to help improve their image and show they're trying to build bridges and move on, he observed. It's very much to make them appear like good guys who are trying to make friends. However, the commentator felt their efforts came far too late to make a difference. To make matters worse, the Sussexes have been stung by a series of setbacks, not least Harry's very public falling out with his Centrebally charity. Harry has faced criticism for the public collapse of his relationship with the charity Centrebally. The Duke was cleared of any accusations of bullying and other abuses in the Charity Commission's report this week, but was criticised, along with rival chair Dr. Sophie Chandauka, for allowing the rift to be aired in the public eye. It's embarrassing for him to be told he damaged the charity's reputation and risked its good work. It was a cause he cared about, but by letting it play out so publicly, it backfired. He'll probably be incredibly angry and hurt that it's added fuel to an already burning fire, Larkham told the Mirror. The former editor felt that the Duchess of Sussex was also taking flack for her social media strategy, observing that everything Meghan does seems to attract negativity, particularly in the UK. Meghan has also seen her approval ratings in the UK sink to record low levels. She's a very emotional person and takes things personally, so it probably feels like she can't do anything right a lot of the time. She was heavily criticised for some of her recent videos, and when she goes quiet, she's criticised for that too, he said. The commentator's suspicions appear to have been confirmed by a recent bombshell poll from YouGov, which showed 67% of the British public held a negative view of Meghan, and 62% felt similarly about Harry. YouGov described the results as a little different from its previous survey in May, although the Duchess's figure remains the joint lowest on record. And if you're here because you believe in truth over tabloid lies, if you know Harry and Meghan deserve fairness, dignity and respect, then stay with us. Make sure you subscribe to the Royal Sussex Squad, hit that like button, share this with your fellow supporters, and if you want to help us keep the lights on and the truth flowing, you can support the channel through the Super Thanks button. Every bit of support helps us push back against the noise. We're in this for the long game, family. And in the long game, love wins. Always.